Let's stop pretending that cheating just happens. It doesn't fall out of the sky or appear in one explosive moment. It builds, quietly, slowly, like water dripping through a roof after a storm. At first, you barely notice it, a few damp spots, a faint smell of mold. Then one morning, the ceiling caves in, and you're standing there, wondering how it all collapsed right in front of you. But here's the part no one tells you. Cheating doesn't come without a trail. A woman who cheats always leaves signs. Always. It's never clean, never silent, never sudden. There are always cracks in the foundation before the house falls. The tragedy is, most men don't see them, or worse. They see them but pretend they don't. They tell themselves she's just stressed, just busy, just tired, she needs some space, she's working on herself. And yet, deep down, beneath all that rationalizing, there's that small voice whispering, something's off. You feel it before you understand it. That tightness in your chest when she's distant. That hollow silence that fills the room even when she's sitting right beside you. It's like your gut knows what your mind refuses to admit. If you've ever felt that gut punch of dread, that quiet voice saying, something isn't right, then this is for you. Because the truth is, when a woman cheats, she always leaves footprints in the mud. And today, we're going to track every single one of them. So take a breath, let's begin. Sign 1. Her attention shifts, and she pretends it hasn't. You don't need a psychology degree to feel the energy change. You just know. One day, she's all in, warm, curious, engaged. She looks at you with that familiar spark that says, "You matter to me." She asks about your day, your dreams, your worries. She listens. She laughs at your jokes, even the bad ones. You feel seen, chosen, safe. Then, something subtle shifts. It's not dramatic at first, but suddenly, the air feels colder. She's in the same room, but it feels like she's miles away. The way she looks at you changes. It's shorter, distracted, almost like she's somewhere else entirely. She doesn't ask as many questions. She scrolls through her phone while you talk. She forgets small things she used to remember effortlessly. Your favorite snack, the name of your coworker, the story you told her just last week. And when you finally bring it up, when you ask, gently, "Hey, are we okay?" she sighs, rolls her eyes, and says something like, "You're overthinking. I've just been tired. Don't be insecure." Sound familiar? That's not reassurance. That's deflection. Because here's the truth most men miss. Women don't pull away at random. They pull away when their emotional investment starts shifting, when their heart begins to orbit something or someone else. It doesn't always mean she's already with another man. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's fantasy. Sometimes it's simply the thought of freedom, the idea of a life where she doesn't feel trapped, unseen, or unheard. But make no mistake, once her emotional focus moves away from you, the foundation starts to crack, and it rarely stops there. Sign 2. She starts hiding the small stuff. Contrary to what most people think, cheating doesn't begin in the bedroom. It begins in silence. It starts in the moments she stops sharing, the tiny corners of her life that used to belong to both of you. She used to tell you everything, the annoying coworker, the inside jokes at the office, the random things that made her smile. Now, she just says, work was fine, and that's it. No story, no laughter, no color. She used to leave her phone anywhere, on the couch, the counter, the bed. Now, it's always with her, face down, screen locked, or worse, turned away from you, as if it's guarding state secrets. She used to tag you in posts, mention you in captions, share pieces of your life together. Now, her social media looks like she's single again. Pictures without you, stories without your name, a digital world where you simply don't exist. And if you dare to ask about it, if you say, "Hey, why'd you stop posting us?" or "Who keeps texting you so late?" Suddenly, you're the problem. You're jealous. You're controlling. You're toxic. But here's the thing. That reaction isn't about you being paranoid. It's about her needing a reason to justify the distance she's already created. She's compartmentalizing, building two lives that barely touch. The one she lives with you, predictable, safe, familiar, and the one that's slowly slipping away, new, exciting, untethered. One version of her still sleeps beside you. The other is already walking away in her mind. You might catch glimpses of that second version when she laughs at a message she doesn't show you. When she dresses differently, without explaining why. When she talks about just needing space. But that space feels like a wall. And it's easy to tell yourself it's nothing. That you're being dramatic. That she'll come back around. But brother, this is the moment that defines everything. Because once a woman starts hiding the small things, it's not about the secrets themselves, it's about what those secrets protect. It's about her slowly rewriting the story of her life, without you in it. Maybe she's not gone yet. Maybe she hasn't crossed any line. But the energy, the honesty, the openness, they're already fading. And that's how it always starts. With small lies, with unfinished sentences, with the feeling that you're no longer looking at the same person you fell in love with. So pay attention, not with paranoia, but with presence. Don't obsess over her every move. Instead, notice what's missing. Because what disappears first isn't loyalty, it's intimacy. The laughter, the eye contact, the easy flow of words that once made love feel effortless. That's where cheating begins, not with betrayal of the body, but with betrayal of attention. And once that attention leaves, it rarely comes back untouched. She's still there, but not really. One version of her laughs at your jokes, sleeps beside you, goes through the motions. The other version is already drifting, like smoke slipping through your fingers. You feel it, don't you? That quiet distance that logic can't explain. Because once a woman starts hiding parts of herself, she begins to divide her identity. The her that you know, and the her that's slowly disappearing from reach. And that's where things get tricky. Sign 3. The illusion deepens, she becomes a magician. A cheating woman doesn't always vanish. She transforms. She learns to perform, to distract with one hand, while deceiving with the other. She'll make you question your own sanity. You'll start second-guessing yourself. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe I'm imagining things. But you're not. You're just up against someone who has mastered the quiet, cruel art of emotional gaslighting. She'll twist your doubts into proof of your insecurity. Your awareness becomes your weakness. And yet, deep down, you always know. Because when the truth starts to bend, you can feel it in your gut. The story stops adding up. The timeline doesn't make sense. Her tone carries that strange, defensive edge. It's like you're watching a magic show where you already know the trick. But you can't call it out without ruining the illusion. That's when the energy between you begins to change, especially in the most intimate places. Sign 4. The intimacy fades, or mutates into something unrecognizable. One of the loudest red flags isn't found in her words, but in the silence between your bodies. The bedroom becomes the battlefield. She might suddenly turn cold, distant, uninterested, detached. Touching you feels like work. Kissing you feels rehearsed. You sense it in the way her body tenses under your hands, like she's there. But her soul isn't, or, just as confusing, she might swing the other way, suddenly more passionate than ever. New moves, different energy, a hunger that wasn't there before. At first, you might think, maybe things are getting better. But here's the twist. Both extremes are signs. Because when a woman cheats, she isn't just sharing her body, she's redirecting her intimacy currency. And that currency has limits. It either dries up with you, or it overflows as a disguise. In one version, she avoids closeness because it makes her feel guilty. In the other, she uses passion to cover her conscience, trying to convince both you and herself that everything's fine. Either way, it's not real anymore. You'll feel that truth not during the act itself, but in the silence afterward. That hollow stillness when she rolls over too quickly, when she doesn't reach for you, when you realize you're lying next to someone who feels 1,000 miles away. It's like kissing someone through a glass wall, close enough to touch, but completely out of reach. And that's not love anymore. That's the residue of betrayal. What's left when connection becomes performance? Sign 5. The storm takes shape. She starts picking fights out of nowhere. Have you noticed how suddenly the arguments appear? You forget to reply to her text because you were driving. Now she's furious. You leave a dish in the sink. Suddenly, you're inconsiderate, selfish, emotionally unavailable. It doesn't make sense, but that's the point. Brother, it was never about the dish. It's never about the text. It's about displacement, emotional displacement. One of the clearest signs of someone who's wrestling with guilt. She's angry, but not at you. She's angry at herself, at the conflict she's carrying, at the mirror she can't face. So she turns that anger outward. Because being the villain in her own story doesn't sit right. She needs someone else to wear that label, and you become the easiest target. So she flips the script. You're the one who's cold. You're the one who's distant. You're the reason she feels unseen, unloved, unfulfilled. And just like that, the guilt begins to fade, replaced by a sense of twisted justification. Now it's not cheating, it's coping. It's not betrayal, it's finding herself. She convinces herself she's the victim, not the culprit, that she's doing what she needs to heal, that she deserves to be happy. And in that new narrative, you become the reason she stepped out. It's gaslighting, wrapped in faux empowerment. A story she tells herself so she can sleep at night. But here's the truth you must remember. You can't argue with someone who's already halfway out the door. You could write essays of logic, pour out your heart, prove your loyalty. It won't matter. Because she's no longer listening for truth. She's listening for excuses that make her feel right. So don't take the bait. Don't match chaos with chaos. Don't drown in the emotional storm she's stirring to ease her guilt. You observe, you breathe, and you choose peace over confusion. Because the moment you start defending yourself against her invented versions of you, you've already lost the real conversation. Sign 6. Her future no longer has your name in it. This one hurts differently, because it's quiet, subtle, and it creeps in like fog, slowly, softly, until you realize you can't see ahead anymore. One day, she's talking about our vacation next year, about the house we'll move into, or the names of our future kids. And then suddenly, it's gone. Now, it's just, I want to travel someday. I've been thinking about moving to a new city. I want to focus on myself for a while. No more we, only I. It sounds innocent, even healthy. After all, everyone's allowed to dream, to grow, to evolve, but you'll hear it in the tone. That quiet rewriting of the future that no longer includes you in the picture. The conversations that used to start with, we should, now start with, I will. The laughter that used to be shared now feels polite, almost forced. And when you try to talk about plans, birthdays, holidays, anything that means together, she dodges. She says, let's not plan too far ahead. Or worse, she changes the subject entirely. That's when you realize the truth. The future you're holding onto already slipped through her fingers weeks ago. You're still building a life with someone who's already imagining hers without you. And the cruelest part? She won't say it outright. Because saying it means confronting the damage, and it's easier to drift away quietly than to face what she's done. So she stays, halfway, physically present, emotionally absent, her body beside you, but her mind somewhere far away, building a life where your name no longer fits. That's the final warning before the silence sets in for good. Before she stops looking at you altogether. before the version of her that loved you becomes just another ghost of what used to be. The signs are all there: the distance, the secrecy, the fights, the fading plans, each one a quiet step toward the door. But if you've made it this far, if you've started to recognize them, then you already have something most men never do: awareness. Because knowing the truth hurts, but not knowing it destroys you. We talked about the moment when she began to distance herself, when we quietly turned into I. Now, let's go deeper into that silent shift, the moment you start to feel yourself slowly disappearing from her world. Once, she used to say with excitement, "When we get our own place." But now, her tone has changed. "I've been thinking about moving." It sounds harmless, doesn't it? Yet every word carries a quiet distance, a space you can't measure in time, only feel in your chest. She talks about growth, about self-improvement, but those two words, "with you," no longer follow her dreams. She says she needs space, yet never asks you to walk beside her on that healing journey. She imagines a future, but somewhere in that list of dreams and priorities, your name has already been silently erased. And when you ask, when you try to understand what's really happening, she sighs softly and says, "You're overthinking. I just need some time to figure things out. Why are you being so intense?" Her words sound calm, but behind them lies a truth most men ignore. She's already pulling away. She's detaching emotionally long before she detaches physically. That's why you feel like a ghost in your own relationship. That's why her eyes no longer rest on you, they drift, as if searching for something distant and undefined. And that's why your love suddenly feels suspended, not gone, but no longer touching the ground. You feel like you're loving someone who's already left, but stayed just long enough to finish the last few chapters of a story you're not ready to close. She, on the other hand, has already closed the book. You're just reading it slower. But remember this: don't beg, don't bargain, because if she had to lose herself to find herself, then she was never truly yours to begin with. Cheating isn't a single act, it's a process. A woman doesn't cheat the moment she touches another man. She cheats the moment she emotionally disconnects from you and refuses to reconnect. The signs are always there, subtle, quiet, but clear, if you dare to see them. The real question is, do you have the courage to face them? And if you do, are you strong enough to walk away when you realize things will never be the same again? Here's a truth most people don't want to hear. When you allow someone to cross your boundaries once, you teach them that it's okay to do it again. So stay awake, stay grounded, and remember, a real man never begs to remain in a place he's already been emotionally evicted from. If this resonates with your soul, leave a single word in the comments: clarity. And if you're tired of guessing, overthinking, and doubting your own intuition, hit subscribe. Because here, we don't chase shadows, we sharpen our minds and learn to see everything in its true light.